Right, hello guys, and welcome back to another part in my DIY analog synthesizer project tutorial videos. What I'm going to try and do is basically, this video is an amendment to the saw core oscillator. Now if you look at the first video, which is the tutorial, I think it's about part 1, you can see it's pretty much the same. Now the only thing what I've done here is just wanted to show you a few modifications that I've made. Not so much modifications to the circuit, but the parts that I've changed over to give me better tracking and better stability on the actual oscillator, not the exponential converter. I'll cover that in another video. I've done a few things to that as well. So there we have it, and I'll flip this board over and show you on the back the values of what is what. So we got our voltage divider here, R1 and R2, which go into the inverting input of the quad op amp. I should have put A in there, so that will be our first. That's our first operational amplifier in our quad TL0774 or 084, and that's our second one. So we can see that it goes from pins 1, 2, 3, 6, 5, and 7. Pins 3, 4, and 11 go to the plus and minus rail of your power supply. Now if we look over here, I've added a trimmer. To be honest with you, I'm kind of toying with the idea of maybe eliminating this this voltage divider here and just using this trimmer, experimenting just using this trimmer here, but I haven't so far. What I've got and what I've done is worked, so all good at the moment. This diode here, if you remember from the last one, I showed you a Schottky diode, which I think was a 1N5818 Schottky diode, and I said that was quite essential for the shaping of the triangle wave. Unbeknown to me, I've had a bit of time to experiment since then, and I've kind of found out, but putting in this offset trimmer has helped with the actual shaping of the triangle wave. And if we look in the project, or the tutorial project of the sine wave shape, and I kind of run through that with you. So basically, if I just flip this board over without dropping it and just show you the values. So R1 is 100k, we've got R2 100k, 47k for R3, 22k R4, 56 for R5, R6 100k, and the diode we're going to use is a 1N4148 signal silicon diode that looks like so. So if we can focus on that. Sorry, I've got something else stuck in my hand as well. So yeah, so there we go. There's our silicon diodes. And C1, which is the capacitor which goes between 6 and 7, which is our timing capacitor, I've decided to change for a polystyrene capacitor. Now they are supposed to be better suited for doing for timing for VCOs, because they have a lot better temperature stability. Because although you need to kind of think about keeping all your components to have minimal drift, because one thing may affect another. You may have your exponential converter okay, but because your timing capacitor is drifting, you're going to get drifting in your tracking or your tuning at some point or somewhere up and down the scale, which can give you a bit of a headache. So yeah, so I found with this I could get a better tuning range from, say, about, I always tune in the key of C. People say, oh, you tune by A key, so A is 440 hertz, etc, etc. There's no rules. Do what you want as far as I'm concerned. Whatever works for you and wherever you find that easier. I mean, you can kind of get yourself some charts. I've kind of got myself a couple of charts. I'll show you one if I'm going to get a bit of glare off this camera. I'll just go to my project documents and have a look in the pitch, and then we have something like so, which basically, if we look up here, it gives us the actual tuning, the actual frequency numbers. Now we have the actual keys, etc. And yeah, so basically what we have there, what I'm going to try and do quickly is, let's just turn that off. So if now I show you, this was an app that I downloaded. It's called API Tuner. and what I have at the moment is oscillator 3 on. So if we go to oscillator 3 or VCO 3, so that's my VCO 3 on the square wave. A little bit off on the C1, but we can see that. Just turn it up a tad. C2, C4, C3, and if I bend up 1 octave on the pitch bend, see that, C8, see how very close we are to pretty much bang on. I mean, that's kind of, it's very negligible that you kind of notice that kind of drift, to be honest with you. And that's, to be honest, that's happened after calibration, so I'll have to calibrate this. Let's oscillator 1. So there we have it, and that's through changing the capacitor. Before I had a metal film, a yellow metal polyester metal film. So I've changed it to a polystyrene cap with a smaller range and a picofarad. So I've got 1.8 polystyrene cap, and this is what the polystyrene caps look like. They kind of look kind of glass and see-through. They come in quite different varieties depending on the values that you want. So let me just turn this annoying high-pitched screech down. There we go. And yeah, so we have a polystyrene cap. We just look on the side of it and try, if you can, try and look for ones. If you look, sometimes they have a percentage number, and that, I think that means how much they will kind of stay within the specified range over temperature, and even over, you know, as they come out of the factory, they will be within that range of about 5%. You can get even things like silver mica capacitors, maybe a one to experiment with. And if you've never seen a silver mica capacitor, they look like so. And these are very precision capacitors for timing as well. And that's a 5%. You can get ones which are actually 2%. I'm just going to try and pop that capacitor back into the circuit. So yeah, so basically trial and error with this thing, and trying to look at how other VCOs are built. That's how I kind of had this kind of brainwave to try this. And also somebody suggested in the comments, I'll abbreviate your name because I can't remember how to pronounce it all, JJ, he mentioned trying using a silicon diode. He said because it will probably be benefiting me in higher ranges, and well, there we go. So thank you for that. And yeah, and so that's all there is to it pretty much. And like I said, what we have for T1, R5 and R6 is the offset trimmer. So what happens here is we can adjust that. So if I go to, I'm going to try and go on to oscillator 2. Let's just try and turn all the... So if we look at, sorry about the glare from the camera, and that's our triangle wave. So we have our, if we look at the triangle wave shaping tutorial, look at that first, and then if you go to the sine wave shaping, you can see we have another trimmer to play with, which will basically play with the offset, so we can actually change the symmetry of this triangle. I mean, if you look at some triangles and some sims, they're not also always that perfect. If we look at the monotribes, for instance, it's very much, it's almost half a saw and half, because you feed it with a saw before we get our triangle wave. So if I just play with that offset trimmer, I'll just turn that offset trimmer. You can see we've skewed that now. And just basically, yeah, I'm not going to try and do this one-handed, but we can see we've changed the we've changed the shape of that triangle, we can turn that back with the two trimmers. Otherwise you could be struggling with it all day trying to get it perfect with just trying different resistor values, but that worked perfectly for me, so all good. And like I said, don't forget, grab yourself these two apps. This is called Soundcard Oscilloscope, and this one is called AP Tuner 3. I'll try and do another video once I can sort of get my head around doing it and explaining it to you guys in a way which is accessible and understandable, on how I personally done the VCO calibration. I'm not saying it's the only way you can do it, there's lots of ways. I mean, I looked at other synthesizers service manuals to get ideas, because my exponential converter is actually taken from the Jupiter 8 stroke the 6th system, Roland System 100M exponential converter topology, and there's a way that it explains how to calibrate them. So yeah, it's not all, it wasn't quite practical way I tried it, so I sort of have my own couple of methods that I use, so I'll try and go through them with you guys. Anyway, thank you for watching, people. I shall be back very soon with some more videos, etc., trying to cover the filters, which is yeah, going to take a bit of a while. Subscribe, give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and yeah, leave a comment if you've got any suggestions. It's all good and it all helps, you know, bit of a communal thing, help each other out on this one. Anyway, catch you soon, people. Take it easy.